Hi everyone, welcome to our study in the book of Revelation again of the 7 churches. Today we're on the 4th church after we've travelled to Pergamum last time. 72 kilometers east of Pergamum we find the city of Thyateira. Now Thyateira wasn't a great city, but it was a very important city because it was a city with all the traders' guilds, bronze work, leather work, dyeing, linen. So it was a city with a lot of people who were very skillful with their hands, skillful business people. And they were the ones that supplied all the materials and the bronze and the leather work for whatever the other cities would need. This was also a very unique city because each one of these trades had their own guild and they had their own patron god, which they worshipped. And depending on which guild you belong to, that union you belong to, you were also a participant in those festivals to worship your specific skill, your specific, trade that you were working in. So work for them was all-consuming. It sort of infiltrated every part of their lives, and it reminds me of what Paul tells us in Colossians 3, that everything that we do, whether we work or we eat, we must do it all to the glory of Jesus Christ. So now you see, this is actually, even though it's the people's trade and it's their work, it's also part of their worship. It formed a part of their worship. Their work and their worship weren't two separate things. It was all one thing. So it's no surprise then that in the church in Thyateira we get an example of worshippers. And Lydia, the woman who Paul met in Philippi, who became the home church host for the church in Philippi, also was from Thyateira, and she was a dealer in purple cloth, purple linen. So she dyed things purple. And purple was a very precious commodity in those times, a very scarce, rare color. So only the rich would be able to afford purple. So Lydia, in Acts chapter 16, we read about her, and Paul identifies her as a worshipper of God. And now we get to the church in Thyateira, and we have almost this contrast between Lydia, a worshipper of God, who used her trade and her skill to serve God and to serve the Lord, because she used her resources to host the church in Philippi. We find this contrast in Thyateira with this woman that Jesus talks against, and he calls her that she has a spirit of Jezebel. Now Jezebel, we know, is the queen who led almost the whole of Israel to worship other gods. And this prophetess, false prophetess, Jesus calls her, who was present in Thyateira, was leading a lot of people astray, leading them away from true and authentic loyal worship to Jesus. So what we see in the church of Thyateira is a matter of worship and a matter of the heart. See, Jesus' complaint against her wasn't only that she was leading people astray. His main complaint against her was that he called her to repentance, but she refused on numerous occasions. And this is also what we find. It's like, what are you worshipping? And that's what the Church of Thyateira also teaches us. We must never, in a leadership role, and I mean this passage in Revelations has been used in so many different ways. And one of them have been to discard women in ministry, saying that, that's what's going to happen if you put a woman in charge. She's going to mislead everyone. But it's not the truth, because it doesn't only refer to women. It refers to anyone in a ministry role or in a role of leadership and influence over other people. We must be so repentant. Check your heart constantly to know that you are still in line and that you are still authentically, loyally, truthfully worshipping Jesus and Him alone. And that's why Jesus tells them, to those who overcome, He will be like a morning star. And the morning star shines the brightest when it's the darkest. Meaning we will see His truth and His light. And He will be our object of worship, even in very dark places and in very dark times. So we learn from the church in Thyateira the heart of worship, and that everything that we do, whether we work or we eat or we drink, that it all be to the glory of Jesus Christ. Until next time, goodbye.